To the home of Marquette basketball. 94.5 ESPN is WKTI and WKTI HD Milwaukee.
A locally owned Good Karma brand station.
What you need to know for every game to make your best bets. Will you fade or will you follow?
Welcome to the Weekly Wager.
Broadcasting live from the Potawatomi Sportsbook Studios in Milwaukee. Alongside Ben Brust and Jen Latta, here's Greg Matzik.
Hey, it's Wednesday. You're tuned into the Weekly Wager here on 94.5 ESPN. I'm Greg Matzik alongside Josh DiMaggio is joining us here. So here's what happened. For those keeping score at home, we have rules within the program that we don't always communicate. Ben has lost 3 weeks in a row. Yeah. We get to our best bets, and clearly Ben is not up to par with his best bets, Joshy, so we suspended him. We suspended him for 1 week. We brought you in, and right now he is trying to get in and up the elevator, so Jen Latta is pushing him back down. She will not let him push the button to get up here to join us. He is out. He is out for 1 week. He is deserving of that punishment because he can't get anything right.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back here to fill his role. Obviously, Ben has failed greatly at multiple times when it comes to the best bets. I'm 1-0 in my history.
Well, there you go.
You were out, I believe, and I filled in for you at that time, so I earned my second opportunity here, and I think I've got some things that are going to be worth betting, worth people following along with us all weekend long here.
So we got a typical format here for the program. We begin with our local lookout. We hammer everything local. And even if the Packers are on a bye like they are, there are plenty of interesting numbers that we can take into consideration. We'll get into our pick six, analyzing Thursday night football between the Ravens and Bengals. Some interesting nuggets there, some breaking news with who might be available and who might not be. We'll do our best to piece together a parlay, our best of the rest. Interesting stuff from college football, and our best bet to close things out. If you'd like to join us here, you can. 800-990-3776. It's the Weekly Wager from Potawatomi Sportsbook. I do want to start local here because I've been interested in following the futures on things like MVP, Coach of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, things along that line, division winners, just to see how things take shape throughout the course of a year. For example, Jordan Love began the season, I think he was plus 1,600 to win NFL MVP. Following his injury, that jumped to plus 10,000. It has since come back to plus 1,600 for a moment in time. Now it has sort of moved back. Now it's plus 5,000. You keep throwing interceptions, you don't end up in the MVP conversation at the highest of levels. So I do want to start there with Jordan Love because he has been hampered with a bit of injuries. He has not been overly effective. He could still lead the Packers to a very deep run here in the postseason, but plus 5,000 at this stage of the game, Josh, halfway through the NFL season. Do you even bother touching this?
No, I wouldn't. I think the top two guys we see here, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, have sort of separated themselves as the clear and far away leaders at this point of the season. Obviously, we just surpassed the halfway mark by a half of football. I think Jordan Love has too many big mistakes in big times because a lot of these MVP awards, there's a lot of narrative that goes behind it and a lot of feeling that is included. I think Jordan Love not likely finishing as the leader of the NFC North is going to hamper his chances greatly. We would need another run much like the second half of last year and probably even better to offset what's happened so far. The pick sixes and stuff like that are never going to be good for him. I do think it's decent value, but I think you're kind of fooling yourself if you leave the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson type of bet.
I feel like for him to really move up here, Jen, he's got to go on that heater like he did last year, right? I mean, it was about halfway through last year where he got on a run, and all of a sudden was sort of a fringe candidate, but it was a little damaging that first part of the year. Is the damage done for Jordan Love where he can't overcome this plus 5,000?
I think so, because the injuries that he had in the first part of the season plays a role as well, right, Josh? I mean, people are going to look at it and go, you're leading the league in interceptions and you missed 2.5 games? So the numbers are just staggering at this point for him. And I think the narrative surrounding him, whether you believe in those sort of things or not, is going to be he's ascending, he's on the up and up, but I don't know that he can duplicate. What he did last year in the second half of the season, guys, was so remarkable given where this team was at about this time in 2023. It would be it would boggle the mind if he somehow figured out a way to duplicate that. And even if he did, I think there are other guys out there who have been more consistent throughout the duration of the season from start to finish who would have a better shot at it, which is what the odds indicate.
Yeah, you were there with Lamar Jackson at plus 300. Josh Allen is now plus 300, as you mentioned, Josh. Patrick Mahomes plus 400. He's thrown a lot of picks as well, but his team is undefeated, and they always seem to find a way. And Jared Goff, who was my preseason pick here for NFL MVP, I think people love the Lions and the national level. He's at plus 600,
well,
so it is kind of four people.
What is it over the last month? He's completion percentage is like 85 plus, 84, somewhere in that range.
He's got 17 incompletions and 11 touchdowns, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, he's on a tear. He's not the rusher, which I think helps Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson so much here. I do think if they're clear and away, Jared Goff continues this trend, which I find unbelievable, but I would have said it was unbelievable for him to be on this tear for as long as he is right now. I do think that is still value. I mean, the thing with a lot of these is, at this point of the season, you almost want to be betting the favorites towards the top here, which Jared Goff has now made. But as you said, that was your pick earlier at way better value. And I just think any sort of long shot here is just not going to make any sense. It's too far along. It's too clear. I'd be interested to see, too, how many players on teams have won MVP that weren't like a division winner? So I think you kind of have to pick and choose where you like. A Jane Daniels, I think, would be a fair at plus 800 because he blends both passing and rushing, which always elevates those guys above the pure pocket passers, much like Jared Goff. But Jared Goff has been on a tear. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson just seem like they're going to win every time they go out and play.
What's interesting about Jackson, Jen, and this goes back to the days when Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk were together with the Rams, and I always thought to myself, how could one of those guys win MVP when they have the other, right? So, and it really didn't bother the voters at that point because Kurt Warner won MVP and Marshall Faulk, it may have been Offensive Rookie of the Year or in the top three. The idea is that you've got Derrick Henry, who is performing like an Offensive Player of the Year alongside Lamar Jackson. Who's Patrick Mahomes riding with right now? Who's Josh Allen riding with right now? Decent talent. But
Kelsey's coming on for Mahomes right now, right? Didn't he set some record this weekend, 19 receptions or something like that?
It was a very high, I believe it was 14 and maybe it was 19 targets, but it was, he's become the focal point of the offense for them completely. I don't think it takes away at that level. Derrick Henry, what they'll do is just give him Offensive Player of the Year and say, yeah, you both were incredible, because the Baltimore offense is far and away the best right now in the entirety of the NFL. And typically when people do that and they have those seasons that are record-breaking, like right now I believe Derrick Henry has the most yards per game, like if the season ended today, in the history of the NFL. And Derrick Henry gets better as the season goes on. So both of those values are all things worth looking at here for both those players.
A couple other numbers I want to look at, Jen. Tell me what you think about these. NFC North Division champions. Been a little shifting here with the line. Detroit is minus 278, so in pole position. The Minnesota Vikings are actually number 2 in this list at plus 350. And then it's the Packers at plus 900. It's pretty heavily weighted toward Detroit, understandably so. Do you even bother with anyone else? You're going to have to shell out some pretty good money to get some return if you want to go with the Lions.
No, I don't. And Packers, that just throw your money away. May as well light it on fire in that instance. I don't think that they're going to win the division. Does that mean they won't make the playoffs? No, there's obviously a path to make the playoffs. But because of the way things have shaken out thus far, they're just not in a position where, unless there's a total collapse, unless there's a Jared Goff injury, which of course we never wish on other teams, even when we want them to struggle, I just don't see a way that Green Bay somehow supersedes the Lions in the division, and I'll make the argument and make the case that I don't think that the Vikings will either. I think that the Lions are a wagon right now, and again, barring an injury, there's really nothing I see happening and occurring. And you could make the argument that they already have withstained their big injury because Aiden Hutchinson is out for the season, and they went out and got a guy to fill in up there, and Zadarius Smith to fill in that position. So I'd stay away from this. To me, Detroit has put themselves in a position to win the division. I mean, heck, there's a lot of people who are saying they're the best team in the NFC. So I think you kind of got to just throw your hands up and go, nice knowing you. I'm not gonna play any money on this one.
What's telling to me, Josh, is that the Packers have the same odds to win the division as they do to be the NFC champions.
That was exactly what I was looking at
Plus
here.
900.
I would feel much better about placing this NFC championship because it's the playoffs and anything can happen.
Totally.
Anything, right.
You can win the NFC championship from the 7th seed.
Right.
You can win the NFC championship from, down in the standings.
Totally agree. I feel like you're like, when it comes to the North, you're running out of chances to do that. We all feel pretty confident the Packers are going to be in the playoffs. And when the Packers team can beat the Lions, they can beat the Niners, they can beat the Eagles. We've seen them lose to some of those teams, but when it comes the playoffs, and who knows how well the Packers are playing at that time, it could make a difference. I like the better odds of just going for, hey, they're in the Super Bowl. That to me, that's where you find value because the Packers are 0-2 in the division. That is so far behind where they need to be with the way the Lions are winning that it feels almost improbable. Like the minus 278 number is telling us something, and that's, hey, this is probably going to be wrapped up.
Look at the value Joshy is bringing to the show this evening, filling in for Ben Russ. I mean, at some point, we should have a conversation about just, making the replacement permanent. I'm just throwing that out there.
We did bring that up, as the show was beginning. We said that because Ben had lost 3 in a row, we suspended him for 1 week, and you were fighting him. You wanted to get up the elevator here, and you were saying, no, you can't press that button. So, Ben tried to be part of the show, and we said, no, Ben, you got to take a week off.
Who's in first, by the way, in those standings?
Yes, well, you're on a little bit of a heater, and I'm one step behind you here. I'm trying to. Now, the other thing is this: as we get to our best bets in segment number 4, back-to-back weeks, Jen has taken what I wanted to take, but you've earned that opportunity because you're on top of the standings, and if you're on top of the standings, you should get to pick
first.
first.
Like dibs?
Well, I think so. I think if you're on top, you get to pick first.
It is make it take it.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Take
I like
it.
the
So
alliteration
I get to take it again. It's not alliteration. You do this every week.
It's I know it because I know it bothers you so much.
It's susical. It rhymes, but it's not alliteration
Okay.
for all of those students out there who might be listening to this show.
Our aim is to educate. Over-under on Packers win total 10.5 at minus 110. I actually like the over on this. The half is always a squeaker here when it comes to win totals. I get it. But at 6-3, I know what the schedule is, but I also understand the urgency here. A week off at the right time. I can see the team getting to 11 wins. Anybody else taking this?
I actually have that written down here. I like it as well. We kind of picked when we do the schedule game on the schedule release. I think the Packers are still a 12-win team. As bad as it feels right now as Packer fans after no action at the trade deadline, kind of getting dominated against the Lions, they're still 6-3. And it's a lot different than it was last year where it felt absolutely hopeless. And I think we're getting ahead of your... Because if you look down the schedule, there's teams that might not matter in 3 weeks. They might have an injury that takes over. Like a team like the Buccaneers, they lost both of their best wide receivers, and now they're kind of in no man's land. And they're just out there teetering. I think if the Packers can stay healthy and stay the way they are, 11 feels like the bottom of our expectations at this point.
10.5? What do you think, Jen?
I like 11. I think they can get 11. You said the over-under is what for wins?
10.5 Packers win total today.
I think I would take the over. Look, I'm the person who said at the beginning of the year that I thought bold prediction, and again, it is bold. You got to step out on a thin-ish limb for these type of things. But I said I thought they could sweep the division. Now, obviously, that hasn't happened, and they've gone 0-2 against the Detroit Lions and, of course, the Vikings. So Chewy this morning on our show was saying he could see them losing a lot of games in the division, maybe only winning 1 or 2 games in the division. If that happens, then 11 is tough because they have 1, 2, 3, 4 games left in the division, right? But I don't see them losing. I don't see them losing to the Saints. I don't see them losing to the Seahawks. They'll be a tough game
at Seattle.
At Seattle, that's always a tough place to play.
The Dolphins are a 2-win team. That they're struggling. Who knows what's going to be happening throughout the course of the rest of their season? Like there's a lot of teams that are kind of in that flux. The Chicago Bears, by the time they see him, Matt Eberflus might not be the coach anymore, which totally changes how things go. They were on such a high trajectory, and now things have changed. CMC's coming back for the San Francisco 49ers, but they've underperformed, and they are another injury away from being a team that is going to have a real hard time scoring points.
Local Lookout, here's how we begin the program. It's the weekly wager on 94.5 ESPN. When we come back, we'll do our best here. We've got our pick 6. We've got the prop bet set up for Thursday night football between the Ravens and Bengals. Well, that was a wild game when these teams met earlier in the season. 41-38 Baltimore in the first game. So it's crazy. We'll walk through 6 ideas. Maybe we'll settle on a parlay. We'll see what we can do. Join us after this.
More bets coming up. This is the Weekly Wager on 94.5 ESPN. What happens when you mix a 3-time Wisconsin Sports Writer of the Year with a Packers Hall of Famer?
I'm not going to get into the Kringle turnover game, so that's what it needs to be.
Kringle
I think his legs. Yeah.
Wilde and Tausch, presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin.
Like the pastry
Are you guys being
turnovers.
serious? You guys can't put 2 and 3
I got it. I did not get it.
They don't call themselves Racine Danish
I'm
turnovers.
sorry. Sometimes I wonder about you too, man.
Catch him from 9 to noon right here on 94.5 ESPN, the Wisconsin On Demand app, and at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Al Leidinger, president of Matheson Manufacturing, needed better document imaging technology rather badly. Then came a James Imaging System sales representative to the rescue.
Tammy Oliver actually walked in the door one day and introduced herself and showed us the new features that the Toshiba had compared to our old copier. So we ended up signing up with them.
Now, after the sale, is your James Imaging System sales rep's customer service meeting your expectations?
Yes, she still checks in to see how things are going and if we need anything. So I really do appreciate that from a customer service standpoint.
James Imaging Systems. Better document imaging technology, better support, amazing people.
There's a true personal relationship, and we've been very happy with them.
Less than happy with your current document imaging vendor? Make the switch to James Imaging Systems. It's easy to do. Call 262-781-7700 or visit jamesimaging.com. James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner.
Hi, Drew and Jonathan Scott here, reminding you that American Family Insurance agents can help build a customized renter's policy so you can protect stuff like this, or this, or even this. Well, case in point. Life's better when you're under American Family's roof. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Get the beat of the Bucks straight from a fan favorite and Bucks legend.
Welcome to the fantastic voyage. Marcus Johnson, the captain of this vessel.
Tap into Here District with Marcus Johnson, a Bucks Plus audio production.
My first mate, Chris Johnson, the only father and son tandem.
Your weekly pulse on the Milwaukee Bucks and conversations with the biggest names in basketball. This week on the pod, Marcus and Chris are joined by MJ's TV partner, Lisa Byington. Find Here District now on Bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, or wherever you get your podcast.
Swing into action to experience Sweetgrass and Sage Run in 2025. The Island Resort and Casino stay and play packages are a hole-in-one. By blending award-winning golf with exceptional amenities, we've become the premier resort destination in the Midwest. But don't wait. These popular packages fill up fast. To book your 2025 golf getaway and secure your spot on the green, visit islandresortgolf.com today.
ESPN Milwaukee's Gabe Neitzel. I've spent a while telling you about Mentality because it works. Not just for me, though. Take it from fellow Mentality user Jason. He's got a new lease on life thanks to Mentality.
The process was easy. It really, truly was. And the individuals that work at Mentality, very helpful, very respectful. It was an easy out. You go in a week after, they give you the results right away. And once you find that you're able to do it, just that thought, the energy already picked up a little bit. Most of it could have been mentally wise, but knowing that, hey, I get to start this, it was incredible.
Learn more today at MoTUSA.com.
Winter weather is on the way, and that means salt, snow, and grime on your car. ESPN Milwaukee's Brad Nortman here. Now's the time to protect your vehicle with a premium wash at Tsunami Express Car Wash. State-of-the-art technology, powerful free vacuums, and unlimited wash memberships. Keep your car looking spotless all season long. Tsunami Express has 5 convenient locations all across greater Milwaukee, making it easy to give your ride the care it deserves. Sign up for a membership at TsunamiExpress.com and get your first wash free. Tsunami Express Car Wash. Wash, chill, repeat.
We're back talking bets after this on the Weekly Wager on 94.5 ESPN.
Josh with you today. It's the Weekly Wager here on 94.5 ESPN. Ben Bruss suspended for a week because he's been awful in his best bets, and it's really that simple. We'll welcome him back with open arms, but no, he's not able to join us today. He'll need to get his act together to be a part of this program.
Are you saying we have standards?
Well, yes, I think we've established some here. Well, you're riding a heater I'm one step behind you. Ben can't get his act together, so we booted him for a week. But that's okay. He'll be back.
I'm surprised that Ben didn't have Joshy serve as proxy.
He gave me nothing, which is usually Ben. If we know him, he likes to control things. And no, he gave me no tips, but I think Ben is just trying to recuperate, take a week off, maybe self-evaluate, go back through the process and run through the things he's been doing that have been wrong. Because I saw the graphic go out. It's been tough sledding for old Benny boy.
Yeah. Well, it is the bye week, and I think Ben maybe also took that to mean he needed that time off for himself, which is fine. Hey, we all need a week. We have not been doing well, admittedly, with our Pick Six because we have tried to piece together a parlay. Jen, we need a new strategy here. Chris is going to fire up the music. We've got a bunch of ideas here for Thursday Night Football, Ravens and Ben's.
My strategy is...
Well, we need an idea.
My strategy is let's use Joshy's big brain. I mean, how many bet slips do you have over there
Joshy's
right now,
already been at it here
my
tonight.
friend?
I've got 4 same-game parlays that I've already placed here. I was deep in the lab earlier today.
Well, why don't you carry this segment then? Help us out.
Okay, so I talked about this last time. When you want to same-game parlay, especially when you start getting into some of the player props, is where you can make a lot of hay. I see the game this week between Baltimore and the Bengals as being a shootout and being a game the Bengals actually have a lead in. Defense for the Ravens has been a very big issue.
Yes, secondary.
The Ravens want to slow the game down and kind of grind you down to a halt. So there's some interesting things we can do along the lines here because at the wonderful Potawatomi Sportsbook, we have the ability to kind of fudge the numbers and add them up a little bit. So I've got one here where I've got long-term bets here. I've got the Bengals covering 6 points.
Okay.
Add on to that Jamar Chase over 89.5 yards. What's going on? T. Higgins is listed as doubtful.
He'll be out.
I would imagine he will not play at all. That's going to focus their offense on 2 players. That's Mike Gesicki and likely Jamar Chase. Add on to that, I like Justice Hill. So Derrick Henry has been unbelievable. He has a chance to win the MVP. But in games where they're playing behind the Ravens, Justice Hill plays a lot more. He's on the field a lot more, and he has an ability to kind of have a receiving. Keaton Mitchell is coming back for the Ravens, but I can't imagine he's going to play much more than 10 to 12 snaps in this game. So if there's a situation where the Ravens find themselves needing to run the ball, they need to be moving it quickly, they need to go into a hurry-up offense, he's going to stay on the field. We've seen entire drives from the Ravens where Derrick Henry isn't on the field. I also added on to that Deontay Johnson over 24.5 yards. That is simply they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. He is the new acquisition. He didn't really play at all for them in week 1, but I would imagine they're going to have some plan for him. And also Joe Burrow over 289.
And what did that bring you to?
That is plus 6,600.
And that's a $5 bet that would earn you what?
$335.
Not bad. $5 bet.
I like it.
I've also got other ones here if we want to get a little less aggressive, because I did just do I love touchdown plays with a point total of where we have 50,
it's high. It's
53?
probably the highest you're going to see for a Thursday night football game.
With the 53, you can place 2 or 3 of these. So Chase Brown is a very big weapon for them. Zach Moss is out now for the year. So Chase Brown is a big explosive player. There's a play I love. His highest rushing attempt basically is 13.5. So if he breaks one big play.
He blew that out of the water last week, didn't he?
That's longest rush.
Yes,
right?
Correct.
Longest rush.
I do like him also as a touchdown scorer as well. And then I think Derrick Henry basically scores a touchdown every week, even if Justice Hill scores as well. Derrick Henry's out there. And then the other one is Mike Gesicki. He had a 2-touchdown explosion
game. And with
game.
T. Higgins being out, guys, that's why I texted. For Inside the Show, Behind Baseball, Behind the Game, I texted Greg and Joshy and was like, hey, are there any Mike Gesicki bets? And he goes, I wrote Mike G.
Yes.
And he wrote, who?
Huh?
But you said it was plus 175 for an anytime touchdown.
Yeah.
With T. Higgins being out, guys, and I believe he will be out tomorrow. That's what all signs are pointing towards. Who are the weapons for Joe Burrow? Right? If you believe that they are going to get close to that number, because Vegas is rarely off on the over-under by a lot, They're going to be throwing the ball. And Gesicki is a target for him in the end zone. So I like that one to make some good money.
To echo Josh's points, over-under, I don't know what it was back when these teams played in early October, a month ago to the day, as a matter of fact. It was 41-38.
Yeah.
That's just insane.
And the Bengals defense is also very bad.
Well, that was before the Bengals really had any semblance of what they are right now. I mean, I know it's only a month difference, but they look much different right now than they do then.
Well, we were asking ourselves, are you worried about the Bengals?
Mm-hmm.
How worried are you about the Bengals?
Were they 0-3?
They were off to a terrible start, and nothing was clicking at that point. To that end, to accentuate a couple of your points, Chase Brown is now the lead dog.
Yep.
Even if Zach Moss is healthy, Chase Brown is the lead dog, the back out of Illinois.
They did acquire Khalil Herbert, but that's not going to matter.
Thursday night football, like the competition for carries, I think there really is none here at all.
Yes.
So Chase Brown, longest rush of 13.5 yards. He has done that in 6 of 9 games played.
Yeah.
The only one he did was against the Eagles, and the Bengals didn't play terribly well.
Yep.
So I don't expect to see much of at all of Herbert. Zach Moss is out. Total carries for Brown, I'm a little questionable on that at 15.5. It is so reliant on game script.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you could have 6 carries and bust off a 13.5 yarder. Mm-hmm. I don't like the total carries number for Chase Brown.
What was the number for that, carries?
15.5.
Tricky. I'm looking, he had 27 against the Raiders last week, and that was his best game, obviously, 120. If they are going to follow that
But that's a blowout,
script,
too, right?
If they are going to follow that script, though, obviously the more carries he gets, the better his average gets.
Sure.
He's averaging 2.7, 2.9, 3.8, and then in that game he had 4.4. I think you're right. I think I'd stay away from carries, although I do think that he will be carrying the ball significantly. But there are other options, like you mentioned, the long, which probably feels a little bit safer, right, Joshy?
I like that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one I have an eye on. His whole thing is how explosive he was. Last year he barely played, and he's just been a big bet for them. And the Khalil Herbert thing is not going to matter. They do have other guys that are likely going to outsnap him. I think the Burrow passing yards is sort of the actual number, if you want to put it more towards an even bet, is 269, which is a little bit safer. But when I'm making bets like this, I like to add those odds, because if the script follows the way I think it does, and they're throwing the ball around everywhere, and Jamar Chase is a huge factor, Mike Gesicki, those are all things that are going to kind of snowball into one another and really going to help you out. That also opens up a ton of options for the Ravens, because they have a passing offense now that was super focused on Zay Flowers, but Mark Andrews has been scoring touchdowns recently. And Deontay Johnson, we don't know what he's going to be. Some people questioned, does he even fit with this offense? But he's a guy that no matter where he goes, he gobbles up a ton of targets. So if we were going to go anywhere with Deontay Johnson, I took the 24.5 because that number is so low. But if you want
one pass,
right? It's one pass, and he's not super dynamic down the field. He's not going to be Jamar Chase catching 40-yarders. But if he across the middle of the field, he can easily get to 24.5.
I like Derrick Henry's anytime touchdowns at minus 500. Lamar Jackson over/under on rushing yards 49.5. I like the over on that. How do we do this now? How strategically, how do we piece this together? Because we've not had the best approach the last couple of weeks. We have lost. I like what Josh has done. He's done a lot of legwork.
Last week got close, though, right? The issue we had was Rodgers had the slow start.
Exactly.
Because he got close to the over-under. We hit on the other two. And again, what did he have? He had 20 yards in the first either half or quarter or something absurd like that. And then he just went gangsbusters in the second half. Joshy, what do you like for 3 for this game?
The 3 I like the most are going to be the Justice Hill touchdown. I love that one. The odds on it are great.
Like a touchdown for Justice Hill.
Yes, Justice Hill touchdown is plus 335. So you're getting great odds on that, and in a game where that's going to make sense. I love both Burrows over on passing yards, and the same goes for Jamar Chase, because there's basically 2 people on that offense you need to really focus on. They do have Andre Yushovis, but he's just sort of a guy that fills in there. So it's going to be super focused. If we like Gesicki more, I'd be okay betting on either his over on yards or on his touchdown. But I think Jamar Chase at 89 yards is him. That's 2 catches.
Greg, remind me what the over-under was for Burrow.
269.5 on passing yards.
So according to this, he's averaging 249. Are you confident he can go 20 more?
So, if it plays out like the first game did, yes. If the Bengals are getting smoked, yes.
Mm-hmm.
If the Bengals have a sizable lead, no. But I also wonder about the balance, right? I mean, if it's a close game, you want to remain balanced and open up those opportunities in both the passing game and running game.
That's where I think we've made the mistake
though.
in the past, though, to be honest with you, where we have gone either with a running back over yards and we have gone with a quarterback for over yards. And, like, to your point, they're going to cancel each other out likely, right? Like, because the script will roll out one way if the game is going one way and they'll roll out another way. Like, so do you like Chase Brown for the number that you said as an option there?
I love his longest rush, 13 and a half. That would be, if I got to pick one out of our three, that would be the one I would pick.
Yeah, here's another one, and not to throw anything late here, but Lamar Jackson over 8.5. In games that are close for them, he runs the ball a ton. Just because
8.5 carries? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, 8.5 attempts. So if he rushes the ball 9 times, you do hit that over. That is something that in those games...
that has no gain. So as long as it's a rushing attempt.
He can fall forward at the line of scrimmage for a yard, and that counts as a rushing attempt.
And again, I told you guys coming into this, I really like the Gesicki anytime touchdown. Just I don't think that they have a ton of weapons out there. So
Let's do this. Let's think about it. Let's knock heads here during the break. We'll come up with a plan. Maybe piggyback on something that Josh already did.
Who do you think wins that game, by the way?
Well, we can get to that, too. That's going to be very interesting. This is going to be a much closer game, I think, than 6 is not a number I would love here for the Ravens. But we'll noodle our heads together. We'll come back. We've got the best of the rest coming, our best bets as well. We'll figure out a parlay here in a moment. Weekly Wager continues after this from Potawatomi Sportsbook.
We're back talking bets after this on the Weekly Wager on 94.5 ESPN.
ESPN Radio Sports Beat with Freddie Coleman.
It's always interesting when two teams who are playing really well early get together early in the season, especially in the NBA when it is such a long season. But tonight's game involving the Celtics and the Warriors. Celtics are 7-1. That's not a surprise. Golden State Warriors 6-1. That's a surprise. The biggest question is, will he or won't he when it comes to Jason Tatum, the Boston Celtics, and the man who coached him in the Olympics, Golden State Warriors head coach Steve Kerr? Because Jason Tatum, in his own quiet, understated, quiet storm way, you could clearly tell he was not happy with plenty of non-playing time when other guys got more burn than he did on that Olympic team. And he even said a couple of things after the Olympics were over, even though he's part of a gold medal winning team when it came to Paris. So this will be the first time these two have had any kind of contact since all of that. So will Jason Tatum address Steve Kerr and give him a hug or a pound, or will he stay away? That's the biggest question about a big early season matchup involving those two teams. In 60 seconds, 12 is the magic number.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all of that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I'm not going to raise my hand anymore when it comes to college football, when it comes to this. If it was up to me on Planet Freddy, it would have stayed at 4 teams, maybe 6. I thought 12 was too much, and at a certain point, it's going to get to 16. You know what? I'm putting my hand down. 12-team playoff? Yeah, that's going to be an extremely, extremely good thing. I still would increase scholarships in terms of having more players on your team for depth purposes. I think that's going to be a boon to college football if they can extend the scholarship limit from 85 to maybe 90, maybe 95 for depth purposes. That's what I want to plan to Freddie. But you know what? 12? It is that magic number. Yeah, it's going to go to 16 at a certain point, but that means more playoff football. I'm not going to be that old head and say, no, go back to 4. 12 is exactly what the college football needs, and it's what we're going to have starting in January. For the ESPN Radio Sports Beat, I'm Freddie Coleman of Freddie and Harry.
They say seeing is believing, and when you see what's inside at American Place Casino, you better believe You're gonna love it. Because when it comes to amazing gaming, we're a real game changer. With the most exciting of table games like blackjack, craps, and roulette. The newest slots, a sportsbook, restaurants, bars, and more. So if you're ready for excitement, we'll see you soon. American Place Casino. Change the game.
Must be 21 years of age or older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537.
That to-do list you have needs one more thing. Chill. It's an easy thing to do. Just crack open an ice-cold Coors Light and chill. Take the afternoon off and binge watch anything. Go to happy hour and stay for a couple hours. Who's counting anyways? Or hang out with just your dog, because you've had enough human interaction this week. Whatever you do it with a Coors Light. Mountain Cold Refreshment made to chill. 2020 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Celebrate responsibly.
You're listening to the Weekly Wager live from Potawatomi Sportsbook on 94.5 ESPN and at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table.
And the Weekly Wager continues from Potawatomi Sportsbook here. Beautiful 2,000 square foot video wall. They got games all over the place. Big night of college basketball as well. That's right. That season is here. And we'll be talking college basketball at points throughout the program as well, especially hurtling toward the madness and craziness in the month of March. All right, we got to put together a parlay here and see if we can actually do some good with this. We've been just a little bit off the last couple of weeks, but Jen, Joshy, I'm feeling better about this week. I like the division rival nature of Ravens and Bengals. If I'm going to put my hat in the ring on one thing, it's Chase Brown over 13.5 yards. I will trust you all to pick your best out of our parlay world here, and we'll piece it together.
Mike Gesicki, anytime touchdown.
Jen likes the tight end. Whatnot.
So I really like the Justice Hill touchdown, but that is going to crank the odds and be a longer shot to get. I think the Chase yards, Jamar Chase over yards. I have it at 89.5, so I am boosting the odds there a bit. I think he's got like 120 yards in him in this game with the point total where it is, how focused the offense is. I think that's sort of the safest one I can go of where I can increase our odds even more.
So what's the yardage total there for Jamar Chase?
89.5. If you wanted to bet it,
okay.
I believe that number is lower if you wanted to get more even with it.
All good.
But 89.5 is the number I'm going with.
So our parlay is Chase Brown, a rushing yardage long of 13.5 yards or more. Mike Gesicki plus 170. There had to be a better way to say that. Mike Gesicki
Yes.
plus 175 to reach the end zone, and Jamar Chase over 89.5 yards receiving.
In the next break, I'm going to go add that to my 4 slips I already got here.
Okay, we'll Venmo. We'll pitch in, and you can put on your ticket, but we'll give you the jingle on the jangle, and you go pop it into the kiosk.
Lovely.
There. You'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, best of the rest time here on the Weekly Wager, and I wanted to take this opportunity to chat a little bit of college football. Obviously, Jen has been riding the college football wave here, but we've got some new things to talk about with regards to Heisman Trophy, college football playoff. There's an awful lot here. I do want to start in the Big Ten, and it's getting interesting here. If you're looking at the top 3 teams as the favorites to win the Big Ten outright, again, no more divisions. There's not an East and a West. That is way of the dodo bird. Oregon, minus 106 to win the Big Ten. Ohio State is plus 100. And Indiana, plus 1,100. In other words, the odds makers don't believe Indiana can beat Ohio State. Plus 1,100 for the team currently leading the Big Ten, the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers.
Plus 1,100 for them to win the conference would mean that they would have to beat Ohio State on November 23rd and also likely beat Oregon in Indianapolis for the Big Ten title game. I feel like that is probably what gives me pause. I think they could beat Ohio State. I watched Ohio State. I was at that game the other day at Penn State, and you saw that was kind of a rock fight between those two teams, right? And while they're good and they have explosive weapons, guys, I still haven't watched a game where I'm like, wow, that is the class of college football right there, Ohio State and what Ryan Day is doing. Huge fan of Chip Kelly, huge fan of Ryan Day, but like there's still something about them. Maybe it's Will Howard, to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure, but there's still something about Ohio State that gives me pause. So to me, Oregon, as the odds indicate, is the best team right now. I think they are going to dog walk whoever they face in the Big Ten title game. So that is the only reason why I wouldn't even think about going Indiana plus 1,100, because as great of a story as they have been, it's still a bunch of guys from James Madison and transfer guys in there, and they are kind of playing above their weight class a little bit in a lot of these games. Their schedule is very easy. They haven't really played a ton of tough competition, so the Big Ten is not one I would eye up for a conference champ win, and that includes Indiana.
It might be one of those things. And I should look at this, Josh. Maybe you can check it real quick. What are Indiana's chances of winning a title? Right? Are they that similar to odds of winning the Big Ten? It's kind of that same idea we talked about with the Packers, where
plus 3,500.
Yep. 3,500. Okay, that's a pretty big matzo ball there too. They may have a better shot of doing that than they do at winning the Big Ten title.
The one team I actually like that's a Big Ten team for the potential championship is Penn State. I know they obviously just lost, but at plus 2,500 as one of the best teams in the nation, getting that much value on a team that you figure is probably going to be in there towards the end, a team that has a potential to even get themselves a bye, it's just...
But they'd have to jump up. They would not get a bye because they would not be the top team in the Big Ten. They'd have to jump up from like the 8s, 9s, right?
Yeah, no, they would have to. It's just a plus 25. Like, how good do we think Miami is?
I feel like that pregnant pause.
I know.
I mean, I was thinking.
How sure are we about Texas?
I'm thinking the same thing about BYU. It's like, can I really buy this?
And how much, like, Ohio State, they're not what we were expecting, or what they were expecting, to be quite frank.
Yeah. Which is why I like Oregon at plus 450, to be perfectly honest with you. I really like, Dylan Gabriel has been in the conversation for Heisman the entire season. He continues to impress. I think at one point he had one of the best completion percentages in the country. If he still doesn't have it, I'll have to check before College Football Live on Friday. But those are the ones I lean towards, right? I lean towards an Oregon at plus 450 to take the title, Joshy.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you should be, and it's sort of what we talked about in the first one. Those are most likely here. I do think it's interesting Georgia is a plus 325 there. I don't know if I believe in them as much as I would believe in an Oregon, and maybe that's just me being...
because Carson Beck has turned the football over, where Dylan Gabriel has
right,
not.
Is he doesn't feel good at all. It feels like they've got a real problem there. So if I were to actually put money on this, I'd probably just do both and go one of the winners, in my opinion, is going to be one of these teams. So I would still get value placing money on both Oregon and Penn State and not really have to worry about it a whole lot.
Not a big surprise. Georgia is plus 325 to win the college football championship, followed by Ohio State, then Oregon, then Texas at plus 625. And once you get beyond that, now you're getting into the 1,100 and up sort of territory. And it goes up pretty quick, to be honest, with Miami, Alabama, Tennessee, then Penn State at 2,500. They don't win big games to me. I can't count on them on this bet at plus 2,500. They just don't win enough big games. The fact that Indiana is that close to Penn State, I think, tells you a little bit about both teams. Good year for Indiana. Penn State tends to struggle in those spots. Curious to see what happens this weekend. You brought up Ole Miss, Jen, as... not a favorite by any means to beat Georgia, but that line is very tight.
It's at Ole Miss. It's a tough place to play. They get pretty rowdy down there. I don't know what time the game is, and I don't know. It does say on here. I just got to find it. Scrolling, as they say. It's a 2:30 game, so not as greased up as they could be. And that does play a factor, guys. I will tell you this now. Having been to games all across the country, it's a different scene. It's a different vibe. It is absolutely crazy town when you get down in the SEC. And so a game like that where a lot's on the line for Ole Miss. Where did Ole Miss end up yesterday in the first rankings? I know that they were in the top, I think. Anyway, I'm digressing here. But that is interesting that Ole Miss is just 2.5-point dogs there. Because you would think that Georgia is going to be able to run roughshod over them, right?
Well, Georgia comes in at number 3 in the polls, and Ole Miss comes in at number 16. Again, you're talking about Your rivals, your conference rivals.
But
and
also
you kinda,
probably an elimination game for Ole Miss.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair to say. Fair to say, right. I mean, they're right on the precipice. They get that win, all of a sudden you're talking about leapfrogging teams.
Yeah, a win this week would make them in like a real chance at the SEC championship.
As a two-loss team, you
Yes.
need every win you can get, every
Yeah.
quality win you can get, which you'll have an opportunity for in your conference.
I got to tell you this. I've been eyeing this. I've been pointing at this. I've been kind of making faces with
Yes.
Joshy about this. The Big 12 is real interesting to me, right? BYU right now is the favorite at plus 220. They are favored in the remainder of their games, guys. So they have to face Utah this weekend. Then Kansas, who unfortunately Kansas and our friend over there, Lance Leipold, has not had the season that he has had in the past with the Jayhawks. Arizona State and Houston. Favored in all of those games, guys. So who would they face in the Big 12 championship game? Well, probably Iowa State or Colorado. What's Colorado's record at this point?
So they've been kind of Jekyll and Hyde here too, right? They get a lot of attention, but they're 6-2. They've popped into the rankings. They tend to score a lot of points. Offense is really not the issue here with Colorado. Can they get enough stops to win games? That's typically more the question. Their loss is, one came to Nebraska. That's the big head scratcher there because Nebraska is just not a very good football team. And then against Kansas State, ranked number 18. That was a close game, 31-28. Otherwise, it's been a pretty clear sailing. The opening week barely got by North Dakota State. That's a much better program than you might think. The loss to Nebraska has me questioning Colorado, but they have found a way after that with some pretty convincing wins.
But
along the way.
Iowa State at 7-1 right now is the team that would face BYU in that title game, and you got pretty good odds on both of them. So it's just you just got to pick one. I think I lean towards BYU now just because of the way that they've been building as the season goes on. The criticism of them is, of course, their strength of schedule. Iowa State, if I remember incorrectly, I think they played. Did they play last year and smoked them? I don't know why I've got that in my head. Different teams, obviously, from year to year, transfer portal and whatnot. But I like BYU. I might throw something down on BYU to win the Big 12 at plus 220.
If you're going to place a bet on Colorado, you might as well just bet on them to make the playoff and to have a deep run, because at plus 300, you are kind of just picking and choosing something close there. But there is a real chance that they could win that conference, and then you're talking a whole lot bigger than just, hey, you went out and won a couple games in your I think that one to me is incredibly interesting, and there is something to me that's changed there in terms of like a program sense. And the other thing that also goes along with that is the Heisman odds. Because then you start looking at, well, where should we be considering some of the guys up here that have the chance to win a whole damn Heisman? That just changes everything for, like, Travis Hunter at what he was. I believe he was like in 40,000 odds to win, and now he's down to, I can't even find him on here. His odds have dropped a ton, and he's become one of the there it is, plus 22 plus 220.
Tough for a wide receiver to break through in that crowd. There's no doubt about that. But I am curious to see, as we get closer and closer to conference championship time, what happens to the odds with the Heisman Trophy. We can take a deeper dive into that next week, I think.
I can't talk Heisman Trophy as
a
voter. I am not allowed to weigh in on voting odds, who I like, who I think should get it, because they'll take my vote away.
Well, here's my quick take.
I think you'd want to keep that, too, by the way, wouldn't you?
If Miami loses, Travis Hunter is the next best odds. So
if Miami loses, because Cam Ward right now is a quarterback who is up there. He's number one, I think, at plus 180.
It kind of feels like we're doing the Shohei Ohtani plays both ways. And let's be honest, it's incredible what Travis Hunter has done. Has he been good enough at either side to mean he wins a Heisman? But he's got the second best odds right now, and I feel like we all kind of are waiting for the Miami shoe to drop.
I will say this, guys. Pay attention to Ashton Genty. Okay, because he is being talked about in conversations with Barry Sanders. I'm sure you're familiar with Barry's work, right?
Heard of him.
So this is a guy who is just absolutely tearing up the turf and is getting a lot of attention for it. It's going to be tough for him to overcome, obviously, playing in a lower league, but he is getting a lot of attention. Keep an eye on him and continue to watch his numbers. As he gets closer to the season, he will be in potentially a record-setting spot.
We will reassess the odds going into the Heisman Trophy celebration in early December. We'll do that on next week's program. We'll welcome Ben back from his 1-week suspension. Time for Best Bets. We'll get to it coming up on the other side. We need a couple of players here. Are you going to ride with us, or are you going to fade us? 800-990-3776. If you guess correctly, we got a $25 Potawatomi Sportsbook players card for you. Give Chris a call here at 800-990-3776. Callers number 3 and 4. Someone's got to fade us. Someone's got to ride with us. Our best bets after this.
More bets coming up. This is the Weekly Wager on 94.5 ESPN. On this show, it's always football season.
And your argument was that the coaches wanted him to return it.
Yeah, I think,
and he very clearly said no.
They wanted him to take it to the house.
Wilde and Tausch, presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Also sponsored by American Family Insurance.
Play the results, are we?
That's what coaches do sometimes, yeah.
Weekdays from 9 to noon on 94.5 ESPN, the Wisconsin On Demand app, and at ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
At IKEA, they love their customers. And from November 8th through the 11th, celebrate IKEA's Fall Customer Appreciation Days with exclusive deals, discounts, and giveaways. Hey, it's ESPN Milwaukee's Ben Brust. IKEA family members save 15% on in-store purchases of $150 or more and enjoy bonus discounts on select products. Plus, be one of the first 200 IKEA family members at IKEA Oak Creek this Saturday to receive a mystery gift card worth up to $500. Don't miss out on IKEA's Fall Customer Appreciation Days, happening this weekend at IKEA Oak Creek.
This is Jeff Johnson.
And I'm Jason Johnson.
And together, we're part of Johnson & Sons Paving.
Get your parking lot ready now for spring and avoid paying for extra repairs later on.
We'll come out to your property and walk it with you.
Potholes, damaged asphalt, damaged concrete, standing water, you name it. We'll talk to you about your options and fix it.
Plan a budget, set up an overall schedule with Johnson & Sons Paving.
It's all about doing it right the first time. Call us today to schedule a walkthrough and free estimate.
JohnsonandSonsPaving.com.
Craft your Brewers mini plan for the 2025 season, featuring all new 6-packs and 12-packs. Get in on the action with great ticket rates, marquee matchups, and priority seating. Plus, you'll get a limited edition Brewers Crowler with each 12-pack or pair of 6-packs. Looking to customize your games to fit your schedule? Build your own ticket plan options are also available. Pick the plan for you at brewers.com/ticket finder.
Football season. Best time of the year and my favorite time of the year. This is ESPN Wisconsin's Brad Nortman. On game days, my favorite teammate is a cold carbless in my hand. Premium cocktails in a can made right here in the great state of Wisconsin. Maybe it's when I'm at the tailgate ahead of kickoff or getting ready at home for the game. Carbless is there. 0 sugar, 0 carbs, and gluten-free. Carbless features classic cocktails like margarita, Paloma, and even Moscow Mule, and vodka cocktail flavors like cranberry, lemon, and peach. Find it on your next grocery trip. Carbless. Less is more.
Cousin Subs is spicing things up this fall with a new sub and a delicious shake. The Chipotle Cheesesteak Sub with either grilled-to-order chicken or steak features pepper jack cheese, sautéed green peppers and onions, jalapenos, and Chipotle ranch dressing. And that's not all. Pair your Chipotle cheesesteak with a new pumpkin pie shake and your taste buds will fall in love. Order in-store, online, or via the mobile app. Cousin Subs. We believe in better.
Home practice is about to begin. Your daughter's new tap shoes? Loud. Your son's new tuba? Louder. But you got this. Just like Associated Bank's got you with $50 overdraft Greystone. So if you lose track of expenses buying some noise-canceling and sanity-saving headphones, we've got your back. You got this with $50 overdraft Greystone from Associated Bank. See AssociatedBank.com/checking or ask a banker for details. Member FDIC.
Are you looking for reliable transportation this holiday season? I've got you covered. It's Jen Latta from ESPN Milwaukee, and with holiday parties, family gatherings, and year-end events on the horizon, I trust AccuTrans Group to handle all of my private transportation needs. Whether it's a corporate function or festive celebration, AccuTrans gets me there safely and on time. As a veteran-owned business, they pride themselves on top-notch service that you can count on. Booking is easy, stress-free, and reliable. Just visit AccuTransGroup.com to reserve your holiday ride today. That's AccuTransGroup.com.
We're back talking bets after this on the Weekly Wager on 94.5 ESPN.
We were beating the odds, we were beating the odds, we were beating the odds again. We were gambling with the
Somehow lost Josh DiMaggio here. I think we want to make our parlay bet.
I was going to say, I don't know if we've lost him. I think he was tempted by the machine right outside the studio door here.
That is part of the beauty, though. If you are coming to Potawatomi Sportsbook and you maybe don't have a lot of time, they've got these little, 20-minute parking spaces. You pop in, you kind of do your work at one of the self-serve kiosks. You don't even have to talk to anybody, right? You do all the research right there on the machine and make your wager and walk away. Simple. If you want to hang out and grab some food from the kitchen, you can certainly do that too. It is a state-of-the-art sportsbook, no doubt about it. And a lot of hoops on tonight. Of course, there will be football on tomorrow. Whatever game you want to watch, I guarantee you are going to find it here at Potawatomi Sportsbook. Time for our best bets, and we need someone to fade us and someone to ride with us. What are you going to do here? 800-990-3776. Quick look at the standings has Jen on top. Jen, you are on a bit of a hot streak right now. You are one game ahead of me. Ben is 2 games off the pace, having lost 3 in a row. And I do believe this is the correct way to go about business. If you are in the lead, you should have the opportunity to pick first because there's only a finite amount of games in the NFL. We're not hamstrung by buys too bad this week. However, they are still coming. So we got a pretty full slate of games, with the exception of the Packers, of course, a couple other teams. What do you like here in the NFL for your best bet?
All right, so earlier today I was looking at the NFL lines on the old Potawatomi Sportsbook, and I saw Minnesota Vikings, Jacksonville Jaguars. Vikings are favored by 4.5. Now, these things change. It's fluid. It's flexible. It can switch on you, right? So I'm just going to go back and refresh the page and see if, in fact, that is still the line, because on these sheets of paper that we have in front of us, it is a 5. It's still 4.5. Okay, I'm going to ride with the Minnesota Vikings this weekend. Favored by 4.5 against Jacksonville Jaguar. I know that Doug Peterson is playing for his job. I know that the Jacksonville Jaguars have not been very good. I know that a lot of people feel like they are due for a win and they are at home. And what better way to do it than this weekend? I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. I don't think they have the weapons. The Vikings have been on a roll. I think Kevin O'Connell is one of the best offensive coaches in the league, and I got to ride with the Minnesota Vikings this week as my best bet. What do you think of that, Joshy?
I like it. I think I was actually surprised to see that number grow a little bit there. I think the Vikings are just such clearly a better team. I don't think Doug Peterson's job is anything that he feels super good about at this point. They keep having injuries with the Jaguars. They're trading players away. It just seems like they've got a real potential for things to get really out of hand on them during the second half of the season.
Is this a weather thing, you think? I'm trying to figure out why it would be this close, less than a touchdown.
Uncommon opponent in warm weather climate. I mean, are we really there? Is it going to be 85? I've not looked at the weather here. There is a thing, of course, when teams come to Green Bay in December. I think that's factored into the lines. I don't know. It does look enticing. It sort of jumps off the page, but I thought the same thing about the Packers a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And while that should have been a cover for the Packers, it ended up 1 point short. Right?
yes.
I was not very happy about that.
Yes.
The thing that makes me nervous about it, and the one thing that would hold me back, is Sam Darnold seems to be starting to show cracks. Mm-hmm. He's starting to throw it to the other team, and that's going to keep them.
But what do you think of Brian Flores' defense?
I think it's good. Can create turnovers. Trevor Lawrence can make issues.
Yeah.
All right, my best bet is this. Jumps off the page to me. It's the Lions minus 3.5 at Houston. I don't think anybody can stop the Detroit Lions right now, and I don't think Houston can score enough points to stay within, I would say, 6 of Detroit. If this thing were 5, I might hem and haw. At 3.5, I like the Lions at minus 3.5 at Houston. Joshy?
The game I like, and I've gone back and forth. We talked enough about the Bengals-Ravens game. I like Broncos plus 8. I like against the Chiefs just don't care about winning that much. So plus 8, it's only a 41.5 total. I like the Broncos to keep it within that.
All right, there we go. Our best bets are on the board. We're out of time of the weekly wager. Chris Larson says we got to go, so we got to go. Stand by for more ESPN Radio after this.
Kyle Walls here from ESPN Wisconsin's Kyle Bruston Norman, and football season is back, and you know I'm watching every snap with the Underdog Fantasy Sports app in my hand. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. You make picks for your pick'em entry and choose if a player will go higher or lower when it comes to their stats. Maybe it's Jordan Love higher than 2.5 touchdown passes, or even Tyreek Hill